Record. Okay, perfect. Be like, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of an experiment called Life with Alex Mackenzie. That's me. As always, this episode is brought to you by Punchline Nutrition. Go and check out NeuroBoost. It is like a multivitamin for your brain. I take it before I do any writing, podcasting, any comedy shows. Now, we don't guarantee that NeuroBoost will make you smarter, but we do guarantee it will make you less dumb. So go to Punchline Nutrition, check that out, grab some, and get after it. And also, the Hunger for Laughs comedy tour is now on sale. So, what you're going to want to do, we got the funniest comedians in Canada coming to your city, telling jokes and raising money for charity. So, go to hungerforlaughs.com, check out your tickets, use coupon code ATJ at checkout, and you'll save yourself 25%. Now, today we have a very special guest. I'm very excited to talk to this man. He is an author, an accountant, a Christian, and a farmer. Please welcome to the show, Ralph Estep Jr. Ralph, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate being here, and I'm looking forward to an in-depth conversation. We have a little fun while we're at it.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's my whole shtick is always, if you're having fun, you're having a good time. That was actually one of the best pieces of advice I got for entrepreneurship was like if you make it fun, you'll keep doing it, you know?
No,
Like,
it's true. And if it's not a job, you'll keep doing it. If it's your passion, if it's your why, if it's why you get up in the morning, you keep doing it because being an entrepreneur is not easy work, man. There's sometimes it's easier to go get a 9 to 5 job, dude. That's the truth, right?
yeah, I would think a lot of it for sure. And I think a big thing with entrepreneurship is at the start, it's very exciting, right?
Right.
Like the startup phase is so fun because it's like, oh, you're creating a brand and you're doing all this stuff. And then once you get into the thick of it, then you realize it's like day in and day out, these, I don't know if you want to say boring, but it's like a lot of repetitive, like how many times can you repeat this task and put a smile on and keep doing it? And no one's cheering you on and it's just you. Yeah.
It's the truth. It's what I call grit, and I have a show called Grit and Growth Business where I talk about that. It's the daily grind. It's that keeping that grit going. If you want to see growth, you got to stay with it. Consistency is the key to it. But you're
Yeah.
right, it's tough, and it's tough not to get burned out. Also, that's another thing that you got to really be careful of. Because you're right, the excitement phase. I've been doing this particular business of mine for 30 years, dude. Like I've been doing accounting since I was 8. Like I grew up in this. But like you got to stay involved. You got to think of something new. And if you keep it interesting, that's one of the reasons I got into podcasting and writing some books because it becomes a grind after a while, but you got to keep on reinventing yourself too. As a comedian, I'm sure you do that all the time. You know,
Yeah.
you're only as good as your last joke, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's a very fun phase of the art form is I put out a special in January. And so now I'm writing a new hour. So that was my second special, The Happy Camper. And now I'm working on my third special called Never Been Better. And yeah, it's very, I feel like open micer again. Because I'm like, I'm having to go out and do these shows and you're trying new material. And dude, I just bombed so bad on Saturday night with one of my new jokes. Like it just went terrible. And you're like, oh man, this reminds me of when I was first starting. You're just trying to figure it out. And I know the funny is there, but I'm like, how do I now pull the funny out of this story and get it like stage ready into a good piece, you know?
And it's interesting what you said. I do a live show every Tuesday night. Just launched it last night, actually. One of the things I talked about in there is pilot testing stuff. And as a comedian, you're doing that, right? You're going to the local clubs, you're piloting things, and you realize sometimes things don't land, right? And
Yeah.
as a small business owner, you're going to have that. Like you're not going to hit home runs every time. The key is
Yeah.
to get back up the next day and try it again, and then learn from that. You know, and that's awesome. That I mean, that's what it called. That's what it means to be a small business person.
Yeah. You're constantly just pulling levers and seeing what happens for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm very interested to dive into the financial side of things. I think financial
Sure.
advice is something that we don't stress enough of, in our early years. You don't really have a lot of people sitting you down explaining to you how money works and why it's important. I think that it seems like we go two ways with it. A lot of the time we're like, oh, money is so important, but then you can lose sight of what really matters.
Right.
But at the same time, when you don't have money, life is so hard. Like it's very hard. One of the best ways it was described to me by a very successful person was they said, when you don't have it, money is everything. And then when you have it, it means nothing.
That's so true, man. I've had that in my own life. Like you get to a certain point, it's like and I think you're right. I'm gonna go back to something you said a second ago. I think we do a really bad job of giving especially young people, financial education. We just assume that they're going to be able to figure it out. The problem is a lot of people come from parents that didn't figure it out themselves. And so they think, oh, well, my kids aren't going to be good at money. Well, if you're not good at money, you're not impressing upon them how to be good at money. You're right. And you're right. I think you get to a certain point in your life when you mature to a point where you're like, money doesn't mean as much, but you're right. It certainly opens up opportunities. I think Chris Rock, the comedian, has a stick or something. Like he says that, having a job's great, but having the money gives you opportunities. And that's really the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's very well said. How do you, uh, what is one piece of advice you would give to every, like a financial startup? Like, what is like critical financial tip that startups need to make sure that they have as a foundation to build from?
Now, when you say a startup, are you talking about a person or a business?
Ooh, let's go with a business, I guess, to start.
Very cool. So the first thing you need to understand your why. Why are you in business? What is your end goal? What is the goal? What does it look like? Because if you don't have a why, you'll never have a roadmap to get there. See, a lot of small business people kind of happenstance into it. Maybe they're good at a particular thing. I'll give you an example as a plumber. Like maybe
Right.
you're a guy, you're good at twisting wrenches, right? And then you decide you're going to go in business for yourself. But if you don't have a plan, you don't have a why you're doing this, it's really hard to get started. So that's the first part. Second thing is measure every dollar that comes in and goes out. A lot of
Right.
people don't do this. They get to the end of the year, and I'm a tax guy too, right? So they come in the end of the year, like, here's my shoebox, Ralph. Good luck. And I'm like, yeah, here's the problem with that. Number one, how'd you do during the year? Number two, could you have made better decisions? And number three, do I really have everything here? So that's
Right.
the second piece of advice. Have your why. And then second piece of advice, measure everything. Know where you are.
With
Because if you
the
don't know where you are, how do you measure where you're getting?
That's really good advice. That was actually one of the things that my buddy taught me, who he runs a couple successful businesses. The first thing he taught me is he goes, "Okay, every job gets a job number." Like I do event production, like comedian, so
Sure.
doing that. He goes, "Every job gets a job number. Now, every receipt or any money spent on that job goes to that job number." And he goes, "First rule of business, whatever you think it's costing you, I guarantee you it's costing you double." And he was right. Like I was producing a small show here in Vancouver, weekly show. And I would have guessed it was costing me $450 to $500 to produce this event.
Mhm.
And then I started recording everything, the posters, the print, just all of these little things that I wasn't thinking of. And it turned out I was spending about $950 a show.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. People don't understand that because they don't have no concept of what their actual costs are. They just assume. And a lot of people live by how much is in my bank account. Well, I must be
Exactly.
making money, Ralph. Well, that's not necessarily true
Right.
because you could be feeding other money into it. But you're right, dude. That is so critical is to measure. I was saying on my show, what gets measured gets done. And if
Yeah.
you measure it, you keep track of it. And I love your idea of job costing. That's really what you're talking about
Right.
is understanding each little nuanced thing. Are you making money at it? Because a lot of people don't take the time to do that. And they get to the end of the cycle, they get end of the year, and they're like, I don't understand where my money went. Well, you didn't measure it the whole time. You didn't know what was working, what wasn't working. Kind of like your comedy thing. If you go into a club and do some comedy shows and you don't keep track of what landed, when you go to do a show or do another hour thing, you're not going to know what's working, right? If you're not
Right.
measuring that, you're not keeping track of that as you go. And that goes with comedy and it goes with business at the same time.
Well, that's what I find with so many principles in life. I find they're so transferable. Like, that's why I think business has taught me a lot because I found it bled into my personal life. And there's so many other areas that these laws or rules are applicable to.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
organization, efficiency, all those type of things that you do those in your personal life and your business life. And that's the thing, like you can't really disconnect the two. You show me somebody's business that's a disaster, I'm going to tell you most of the time their life's a disaster too,
right.
because it seems to go in between the two things. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I like the measurement aspect because I used to be an instrumentation mechanic at a
Mhm.
pulp mill, and it's basically just process control. So we would measure any process variable, the speed, flow, temperature, level, and then we would try control it to a set point. And one of the sayings in instrumentation was that can be measured can be controlled.
Absolutely,
So
that's true.
if you can't measure something, then you have no basis for how to control it or manipulate it or move it in the direction you want. So
And I
measure
hear that from
does
small business people all the time as I'm coaching small business people. Like, Ralph, I hate my business. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know whether I'm making money or not. I'm like, because you're not in control. You're
right.
not measuring it. You don't know where things are. Absolutely. 100% agree with you, Alex.
Yeah. What is the most common piece of financial advice that people get wrong that's kind of holding them back?
A lot of people go into debt. That's one of the things I think is really a problem. I did an analogy the other day. It's either a ladder or a shovel. Let me explain that to you.
Yeah.
Debt can be a ladder if it's done well. If you understand what you're getting into, if there's a return on investment for borrowing the money, it
Right.
can also be a shovel. And
Right.
that's the thing I see a lot of small business people get themselves in trouble because then once they start digging, they keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper because they don't have a plan. It's kind of like this analogy. Think about this. Let's say you're gonna do some marketing for your business.
Right.
You get a big old bucket of spaghetti, right? You just throw it against the wall.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the way a lot of people do their businesses. They just figure, I'm going to throw against the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That's a bad way to do business. And if you're doing that with debt, man, you're going to get yourself in big trouble. I think that's one of the big things is debt. Another thing, a lot of people like to talk about work-life balance. Guess what? As a small business person, doesn't exist. People are lying to you. These financial knuckleheads out there, these gurus that talk about, oh, you can have a great work-life balance. That's nonsense. Doesn't
Right.
exist. You got to
Right.
be all in or all out. You can't
Yeah.
have your toe in the water of a business and the toe. So if you've got a family, if you've got children, everybody's involved in this business. It's not just you. And
Right.
you got to figure out, how do I make that work? Because listen, this is why I went through my own life. When my kids were all young, I didn't understand how to set those boundaries. I didn't understand how to do it. So that's another big thing I see a lot of small business people fail on. They think, well, I'm going to be able to balance this route. It's really tough. You have to be intentional about it.
Yeah. I saw a really good quote the other day. It was model the rise, not the result. And what it was is that they say like, don't ask Warren Buffett about his daily routine now, because like he's done it. He's at the top, you know. So it's like, oh, he wakes up at this time and he does this and he does that, and it's like, yeah, but he wasn't doing that in his 20s. Like you're not at that level, so don't model the result, model the rise. Like during the rise, it's like there was no balance. It was, you know, like you're saying, complete focus and drive on this one thing to get to the point where then now you can maybe start to have some balance or start once you've got it all figured out.
And that's what you're talking about. As a Christian guy, I believe in the term called seasons. There are
Right.
seasons of your life. And when you're first starting your business, that's a hard working season.
Right.
You're head down, you're pushing forward. And a lot of people go into small business thinking, oh, I'm going to be my own business owner. I don't have to work on Fridays. I can work less hours. Yeah, that's fine once you've arrived, once you've built that business. But so many people go into it with blinders on thinking, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to work less. Guess what? Here's the truth. When you work for yourself, you work longer and you make less money at the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
but that's the season that you're in. And a lot of people don't understand that. Once you grow your business, once you put the systems in place, once you find those key people, then you can get to the point like a Warren Buffett or somebody else who's been successful. And you can, I don't want to say the word coast because I don't think you ever coast, but you
Right.
can manage it a little bit better. You can be intentional in how you spend your time. But at the front end, dude, you're in a hard working season. You got to accept that. Just like as a comedian, right? When you're first on the comedian, you're on the road all the time, right? You're
Right.
trying to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. At some point, you're like, okay, I got this thing figured out. I know what audiences want to hear. I
Right.
know how to produce an event. I know what those things are. But when you first started, dude, you had no clue, right?
Yeah. And I do think I do want to circle back on the debt later, but first
Mhm.
to here, yeah, with the comedian thing, um, at the beginning, like right now, it's like you're running on a treadmill, you can't get off it. Like it's full speed ahead. All my money comes from touring. And what the goal is to eventually, when you get bigger, you can start doing bigger shows less often.
Mhm.
So, you know, like right now, if I'm doing shows every weekend, you know, you're making, you know, maybe a couple $1,000 a week, you're getting by, doing your thing. But eventually, if you can get to the point where, like, you look at these big names, when they're doing an arena, you know, they're making a couple $100,000 a week doing these shows. So then you don't have to go out as often to make the same amount of money. But you can still work on your craft every day by being at the local clubs, you know? So it's
Was
like you
that
can do,
Jerry Seinfeld? I think said he writes a joke every day. I think I read that somewhere that's his
yeah,
goal. He writes a joke every single day, so you never stop.
yeah,
But you're right. As you build your brand, as you build that name recognition, you can be more impactful. But at the
right,
front end, man, you got to stay involved in that on a day-to-day basis. And I think a lot of business people don't get that.
right.
They buy into this belief that, oh, I'm going to be super successful. I'm going to be the Warren Buffetts. I'm going to be the Jeff Bezos. Throw any name you want out there. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to arrive. I'm going to set the world on fire. What they don't realize is how many years and decades of time people went into doing. They see a young guy, they're like, "Oh, this guy's arrived." But what was the day-to-day effort that person was putting into it?
Yeah, definitely. I see the young people are the ones who seem to sacrifice the party life early on. They were ahead of the game. In my 20s, I was going to the bar, drinking, partying, not doing any of the right stuff. And you see these people in their 20s who seem to come out of the gates flying, and it's a lot of that. I think Ali had that quote where they asked him what the hardest part of training was. And they go, "What's the hardest part of your training?" And he goes, "Honestly," he goes, "dodging the parties and the nightclubs and the girls." He goes, "and being in bed at 9 o'clock by yourself." He goes, "If you can figure that part out, you're gonna be fine."
Because it's the distractions you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
That's what it is. And so many people get themselves into problems. I use the problem term, but they get themselves because they're distracted. And
yeah,
you got to be laser focused. If you want to be successful in anything in life, it comes down to laser focus and intention and
yeah.
having an understanding of the plan moving forward. Because as my son says, if you don't have a plan, you do have a plan, you just plan to fail.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's a very good one. I like that. It. Yeah, to circle back on the debt, that I think that's a very good advice because like one thing, so I got a business loan early on. I had no money, I had an idea. None of the big banks would loan to me, but I found a place called Community Futures, which was kind of like it's a government program for startups.
Very cool.
And so then I got a loan. I got like a $25,000 loan, and I burned through that within like a month. Like that was gone immediately, starting up a tour. But I had now production. I had ticket sales, and now I needed money to actually execute the tour. So then I got another loan from them for I think it was 35,000 to now execute the tour. Now, so I had a $60,000 loan, did the tour. The tour lost $60,000. And now I'm like, dude, you're $60,000 in debt and you've got no money, but you've started to build this brand. And, I just kept working and working. But a big thing there that I learned from that, number one, when you're given that lump sum of cash, dude, you're so reckless with it. Like I
That's
was just like I was like, oh, we need a tour bus for the tour. And I paid people a lot of my like paying artists like a very, very high wage and marketing. I was just like, oh, spend thousands of dollars on these shows marketing very loosely. Um, and now when you don't have that money, you find a way to get it done a lot better. Like one of the best things I learned was like addition through subtraction. So it's like it's almost more important to save $100 than it is to make an extra $100. So then I started looking at expenses. And I'm like, okay, we don't need a tour bus. Me and my mom can drive us around in our cars, and we'll do that. And then, yeah,
and what you're really talking about is the nice to have versus must haves.
right,
And as I say to people, is you're looking at a startup, first thing you do, write down everything you need and then put next to it whether this is a must have or a nice to have.
right,
Because so many people, you're right. When you've got that flood of cash, the initial thing is, oh, I can go buy do this, I can do this. I'll give you a great example. When I started my accounting practice, I left my dad's practice, went on to work for myself. My first office was on the second floor of a used car dealership, a
yeah,
buy here, pay here, right? My office furniture was from a scratch and dent place. I bought this beautiful desk. It was 25 bucks, Alex. People
right,
come in like, this is a beautiful desk. I'm like, yeah, it was 25 bucks. Now, I'm a professional accountant. I wanted to have beautiful stuff, right? And I
yeah,
could have had that mentality of like, I got to go do this. But I knew when I was first starting out, it was more important to get myself established. And that's the problem. See, a lot of times these startups, these startup loan companies, they do people a disservice because
right,
they throw them this big piece of cash. A lot of times it's a loosely written business plan. There's no real fundamental principles in what that looks like. And that's why I say, and a lot of times that's a shovel. You had the shovel, you got that first thing, you dug out, right? And then you
yeah,
got the second one, you dug deeper. Now,
right,
it sounds like you recovered from that, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
hindsight being what it is, I guarantee if you went back to look at it now, you would have done things a lot differently, wouldn't have you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Right.
big time. Well, that's a weird thing about advice, though. It seems like until you go through it, it's so hard to learn without actually going through it. I think that is something.
I'm going to challenge you on that, Alex. I tell you why I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the problem is most people don't want to pay somebody to learn something. I
Right,
see this in my own life. A client will come in and maybe they start doing business. They're like, oh, I wish I met you 2 years ago. I'm like, well, I've been here.
right.
They're so afraid to spend a couple $100 to do a consultation with somebody like me that
Right.
helps them set out a business plan. So I don't disagree. I mean, I disagree with you from that perspective. You're right. A lot of people learn from making their own mistakes. I get it. But I think a
Yeah.
really wise person learns by going out and finding out what they don't know, paying somebody to show them the ropes of how to do it, or look at what other people have done and say, well, I can learn from that. But so many
Yeah.
people are like, I charge $150 for a consultation as an example.
Right.
And I always tell people, look, you're going to get that back 10 times if you listen to what I say to you.
Right.
Would you be shocked how many people actually like, well, $150, that's a lot of money. I'm like, okay, well, you're getting ready to go lose 60,000. Would you pay me $150 if I could figure out how to help you not lose 60,000?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ralph, where do I sign up? But so many people don't have that mindset. They think,
Right.
oh, well, I'll just figure this out on my own. But that's not necessarily a good thing in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. I think the where the issue arises though is that you think you do know is the
Right.
problem, right? Like that is the issue is you don't know what you don't know. And when I went in, like I had read business books, I've been, studying. I had been producing shows for about 4 years at this point, pretty steadily. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to scale from like pubs and bars and start doing theaters. And I
Yep.
thought that I had, and I wrote all the numbers down and I'm like, okay, if we can sell this many, we're gonna get this much. And I thought I was gonna make $100,000.
Beautiful.
I thought it was gonna go great. And then you do it and you're like, we did not sell a fraction of what I thought we were gonna sell on the tickets. And yeah, so it wasn't until then. And another part was like with the tour bus, I was too embarrassed to tell a lot of the acts, like, hey, me and my mom are gonna drive us around because these were a lot of like well-established artists, and I was like, oh, I can't have me and my mom pick them up. I gotta tell them like, oh, we're riding high on the hog. We got this bus. It's a very fancy thing. So a lot of ego came into it
Sure.
in that decision making.
And I
Um,
see that sink a lot of business people too. But what you have to remember is the person you're talking about who's arrived, they were where you were at one point.
yeah, exactly.
And so I think you have to embrace it. Like I've had clients say to me, well, Ralph, I got to get a go. I'll give you a great example. I have a client that's a realtor. And he said to me, Ralph, he says, I got to have a brand new Mercedes Benz
Right,
because I got to take people out to see houses. I can't be rolling around in a minivan.
right,
And I said, okay. I said, you're going to spend a lot of money for that. And what he found out was he asked one of his customers one time, he said, would it have been better if I picked you up in my Benz or a minivan? And the customer said, I think the minivan would have been more comfortable.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Again, because it's the ego thing, right? And that's another thing that I see a lot of small business people don't get. The ego will get you in trouble every time.
Oh, big time.
It just will, dude. But I understand as a fleshly person, that's who we are, right? We want to roll with the cool people, right? You don't want to roll up in a tour bus with you and mom, right? Like, I
Right.
can't imagine. But you got to remember, dude, that person was where you were at one point.
Yeah,
And so you got to recognize that they're going to understand that. Like they might, and honestly, I honestly think it actually is a strategic advantage because I think they're going to give you some, like here's what I'll tell you about Alex. I believe most people want to see you be successful.
yeah, I would
And
agree.
if they see, oh, you're struggling by, you're getting by, I think they're going to give you a hand up. I really do.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's one of the things that, and I'm not calling out what you did wrong. I'm just saying like, that's it. But it's a mindset thing, right? It's a mindset. How do I do this moving forward? You don't have to have all the best stuff at the front end because here's the truth. What is the service you're providing? What is the value you're providing? I don't care how you deliver it.
right.
What's the value?
Yeah, yeah. That's very true. I do find that a lot with comedy, talking about the when you're just saying like, oh, the people they were there at one point, like so they understand. And you notice that a lot with the only people who I've felt have ever given me a bit of a hard time have been the not as successful comedians.
Mhm.
Like the really good ones, like if you go and you bomb on stage in front of a good comic, dude, they get it. Like they
Mhm.
know. They're like, "Oh, I know what it's like trying to workshop new material and it's hard." Like cuz it a very difficult thing I think that happens is as you become a headliner, uh then when you come and do small rooms and you're trying new material, like you're a headliner. You're supposed to be one of the best on the show, right? But you're trying new stuff and it doesn't always go good. And so good comedians know that that's part of the process.
Yep.
But amateur comics will look and be like, "Oh, this guy's a headliner? Like, dude, he just ate a bag of dicks up there. Like,
Right.
he's not very good." And
Right.
but the people, yeah, who've been through it, they get it.
But Alex, those aren't your people, are they?
No.
No. I mean, it's like you play baseball or you know about baseball. It's kind of like a baseball. Best hitter on the team is going to strike out 70% of the time.
Yeah, baseball's a great one for that.
I'm just being honest. Like they go up to the plate. A really good hitter is going to
Like
know,
300. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, 300 is a really good hitter.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like if you find people like those aren't your people.
Right.
And that's the problem is I think we compare ourselves to the people what, oh, the arrogant people and the jerks of this age. And like, those aren't your people.
Right.
They're just not. And I think a lot of small business people fall into that too. Like, oh, this
Yeah.
person, look at this person's arrived. What they don't know is on the other side of that, you don't know what debt they have. You don't know who they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're talking about you and your mom riding around in a bus. What you don't know is that other comedian might be borrowing all their mom's and dad's home equity loan to fund their thing. They look like they're living the high life, right? But they're not.
Right.
That's just true. And the other thing about comedians, like I used to have a counselor. He was actually a comedian. He said, Rob, you don't understand this. Most comedians are on the borderline of like being nuts. So he said, and I'm not
Right.
saying you are, but he said, dude, you don't understand. He's like, these are people that are struggling. And
Right.
so, add that to this, this audience you're trying to get to react to. And you're like, man, how do I move forward with this? Because you've already got a difficult ego to begin with, right? Am I being
Right.
honest?
Yeah. Yeah. I always, yeah, definitely. I always say, like, with my comedy, I go, dude, I'm not like traveling around the country seeking the approval of strangers because everything's going good. Like, obviously I got a hole inside of me or something I'm trying to fill that I need these people's approval, right?
And those are the best ones. You look at the Robin Williams of the world. Like those are guys that were just tormented internally, I understand.
Yeah.
The stuff they did was amazing, right?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I'll say about a small business. You asked me about a good tip. Lean into your talents, lean into your gifts, and be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. The most successful people I know are the people who are vulnerable because all of a sudden, like I said, the other comedians step up and they go, oh, dude, I know what that feels like. Well, your
Right.
customers in small business will be the same way, man. Hey, let me help you out. Let me figure out a way to do this. Because that's how you grow ambassadors for your business. Just like you grow comedy ambassadors. People want to go see you. They're going to be those ones that saw you bomb one time and are like, oh man, but he hit a home run tonight.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How did, how did farming, are you still a farmer?
So yeah, we raise Black Angus cows. So I'm an accountant that raises Black Angus cows. And I got a funny story about this, Alex. So about 10 years ago, I decided to have this 30-acre farm. And we had all these pastures and all this stuff, but I wasn't doing anything with it. Somebody said, you should get some cows. I'm like, I was raised in a city, dude. I had no idea. Like my grandfather had a garden, but that was the extent of it. A couple tomato plants, and
Right.
run the lawnmower
Where
on
did
the
you grow
weekends.
up?
I grew up in Delaware, in the suburbs, but not like in some agricultural farm somewhere.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'm going to do this cow thing. So I got online and I found this dude that was off the grid. He was selling cows. So I'm going to raise Black Angus because they're the best ones, right? So I go and meet with this guy. He's like off the grid, dude. Like he's totally off the grid. And I said, all right, what should I do? He goes, oh man, I'm going to help you. He's one of those guys. He saw potential in me. He says, okay, here's what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to sell you a bull so you can breed these. And I'm going to sell you what's called a heifer. Now, a heifer is basically a cow that hasn't been bred yet. So it's
Okay.
called a heifer until it has a baby. So I bought a bull, 3 heifers, and a baby cow. Like it was about 6 months old.
Right.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, I'll deliver them for you. Because, dude, I had no equipment. I had nothing. I had a couple of pails, buckets to feed them with. I had some watering stuff. I had no idea. So the next day, the guy delivers. Well, I had to run out to see a client. So I'm out to see the client. The guy comes up with his trailer. He's dropping these cows off, and my wife and my cousin are there, and they dropped off the cows. And I got home at the end of the day, and I see these cows. Oh, those are cool. They're cool cows, right? And he
Yeah.
had told me, look, he said, dude, whatever you do, don't turn your back on the bull because it's like running into a bus, dude. Like this
Yeah.
bull's like 1,500 pounds. It's like he's not trying to hurt you, but he's pretty good size, right? So anyway, go to bed. Then I get up in the morning. My job is I got to go feed these cows. So I grabbed 2 red buckets, which was probably a mistake. But anyway, they say red, they can't see. But anyway,
Yeah.
grab these buckets, fill them up with feed. I walk out into the pasture and I've got this bull. I'm watching this bull, right? Because he told me, he said, keep an eye on this bull. Well, this bull was cool, man. He's cool. The bull was fine. He's over on his side. When all of a sudden, one of these heifers starts charging me. And I'm like, wait a minute. I wasn't expecting this. This heifer, dude, Alex, she ran into me with her full force, just about knocked me to the ground. And at the time, I was a big fat guy, right? So
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
knocked me to the ground. I'm thinking, oh, the hell with this. This is not for me. And I get back up and I'm shaking. So I jumped out of the pasture like a rodeo clown, like I'm out of this place, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I get on my cell phone. I'm like, dude, you got to come get these cows. These cows are crazy. And he says, no. He says, you gotta show them who's boss. I'm like, okay, dude, look, I'm 300 pounds at the time. These cows are like 1,500 pounds, dude. They're
Yeah.
the boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He says, listen, just give it one more day. He says, tomorrow when you go in there, he says, just back your shoulders up and stand up to him. I'm like, I tried that with a Volkswagen when I'm driving down the road. The car's going to run me over, right? I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to work with the cow. But I said, okay. He said, and here's what you do. When they start to charge you, just tap them on the nose. I said, okay, so this cow is coming at me. This female, the bull's cool. He's over in the corner. This cow's trying to just tap him on the nose. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm going to try this. So I get up the next morning. You mustered up all the courage I could get. I walk out into the pasture. I got these buckets and I'm just shaking, dude. I'm just shaking, right? And all of a sudden, one of these cows starts running up and the same thing, this same crazy heifer. And I did what he said. I backed my shoulders up. This heifer comes out, boom, just popped him in the nose. That heifer's like, okay, sir, what can I do for you now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned it. I learned the trick. All you got to do is just touch their nose. I don't know. It's like their kryptonite, man. So anyway, but since then, we've been breeding cows. Now we're actually raising Wagyu beef here on the farm.
Yeah.
But it's been an amazing thing because we breed cows here. So as an accountant, like when I'm having a rough day and I need to go have some comic relief, I go out and watch the cows, dude. Like because
Yeah.
they just figure it out. Like I remember the first time a cow was born on the farm. I thought this was going to be a big production. I went to bed. I got in the morning. There's a cow and a baby cow. They figured it out. It was no
Wow.
big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the coolest thing ever, man. It really is.
Oh,
It
that's
centers you because as a Christian guy, I look at it as like God has created this. This is the coolest thing ever. And I
right.
just go out there some days when I'm having a rough day, I just watch them kind of, they sniff each other, they lick each other. It's kind of a weird thing, but they just do it, right? And it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah. Speaking of Christianity, you talk a lot about faith-based decision making in
Sure.
business.
I do.
How do you go about that?
Well, I think that we all have to have a character or a core at our center. Mine happens to be Christianity because I think it's impossible to disconnect you from your faith.
Right.
So I actually do a daily show called Financially Confident Christian. It's about a 10-minute daily podcast where I just grab one little kernel of something that somebody's struggling with. And I tie that into scripture and I tie that into faith because here's the truth. Most of the time, you're not going to figure these things out on your own. It's hard. But if you know, hey, look, I got somebody in my corner. I got God in my corner. So that's why I look at it. It's a way to give you some basis in what you do. Because here's the thing. A lot of people get angry when I say this. As a Christian, I don't think anything is really yours.
Right.
Which stumbles some people like, oh, dude, you're crazy, Ralph. I worked my butt off for this. Fine. God gave you the ability to work. He gave you talents. He gave you skills. But
Right.
it's still his. And your job is to, a fancy Christian word is to steward it or to honor it or to take care of it.
Right.
So that's what grounds me. So I truly be, because I think so many people live in this state of constant financial shame. They made mistakes. Like you talked about, you went and got these loans. I'm not saying you made a mistake, but you probably felt that way, right?
Oh, well,
And
I
you,
think it was a
yeah,
mistake.
and
But,
you
I mean,
lived it,
I had to do it to learn it. But yeah.
right? And you lived in this shame, right? But what if there's a way to break free from that? What if there's a way to find confidence? And that's what I do on my daily show. I help people find that one little piece of confidence. I just got done recording for the month of October an investment series. Now, it wasn't like derivatives and EFTs. It was really simple things. Like if I had $25 and I could put $25 into a bank account every month for the next 30 years, how much would I have?
Right.
$100,000,
Right.
$25 a month.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So little things grow. It's that consistency. But I tie faith into it because faith is important to me because I've been very successful business wise. But I
Yeah.
got to a certain point a couple of years ago when I was like, man, what's next? I
Right.
got a full bank account. I got a nice 401k. I got a 30-acre farm. I was driving a brand new Corvette. I had all that stuff, but I still felt empty. And I
Right.
said, there's got to be something else. And that's what you talked about earlier. You said, and I'm not super wealthy. Don't get the wrong idea. But God has blessed me. So I said, okay, how can I take it to the next level? So now I consider it my mission field, to be honest with you. It's like, how can I help somebody find their footing? And that's where I think faith comes into that. Because listen, the easiest thing to do is say, look, God, I don't have all the answers. Help me. And
Right.
when you ask for that help, I've seen it in my own life, dude. He just helps you. But you got
Yeah.
to be willing to ask for it.
Yeah. I think that's the good rule for life is just to ask for help. That's
Yeah.
it's a very tough one. Yeah, I've got into Christianity only a couple years ago.
Mhm.
So I've been getting into it and I really like it, man. Like it's been
And
really
I think, honestly, you're probably better off because so many people are indoctrinated into Christianity from as a child and they don't understand Christianity.
right.
I'll give you a great example. My wife yesterday celebrated 20 years cancer free. She had breast cancer 20 years ago. Yesterday
Yeah.
was her 20th reunion of not having cancer anymore. Well, she was raised Roman Catholic, and I'm not bad mouthing the Catholics. Don't misunderstand me.
Yeah, yeah.
She was raised Roman Catholic, and she didn't really understand the Bible. She didn't understand like what that relationship with Christ was really like. Well, she gets diagnosed with breast cancer. Well, the first thing I did, I went out and bought her a Bible. Now, I was raised Southern Baptist. I was raised more evangelical is probably the word that you would use. And I said to her, I said, listen, you're going through a tough time right now. Let me give you this Bible. It's a women's study Bible. And I never forget, dude, she caught on fire for this thing. Her family thought I had her join a cult, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
She caught on fire with this. And I never forget it, Alex. She came to me one day and she goes, Ralph, she said, I've been going through this. And she's like, this is speaking to me. She's like, I
Mhm.
feel like I have a relationship with God now. And I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point.
Right.
And she goes, and now I'm searching for stuff. She says, I can't even find it. I said, not even in the red words, is it?
Right.
And so she found like so much of the doctrine that she was taught. And like I said, I'm not bad mouthing any particular religion, but she was taught this doctrinal stuff. And she's like, Ralph, I can't find in the Bible where it says I can't eat meat on Fridays.
Right.
She says, I can't find in the Bible where it talks about purgatory. I can't find in the Bible it talks X, Y, and Z. I said, because it's not in there.
Right.
She goes, well, why did they teach me that? I said, I don't know the answer to that. I said, but get into the word, get into the scripture and pray about it. And then, that, dude, I'm so happy that you found that later in life because I truly think that you're going to be more on fire for your faith because you did it as an adult. You did like, oh, I had a decision to make. And I think
Right.
God honors that, dude. Like if you're just baptized as a child, like I have a whole structural thing about I don't believe in baptism as a child, but let's just say you were. You never really invested in that. But you
Right.
made a conscious decision. You made an intentional choice to say, you know what? There's all these things around me, God, but I'm choosing you, dude. I'm picking you as my savior. And dude, I am just so happy that you did that, Alex. That's awesome.
Oh
And that
yeah.
will pay dividends for the rest of your life, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I find it interesting. That was one thing that I learned about was like the ceremonial laws
Mhm.
and how you're like, oh, there's all these things in the Bible, like you can't wear two different types of fabric and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, well, why don't they listen to that anymore? And then you learn about how Jesus fulfilled it on the cross, all the
Right.
ceremonial laws, so they're not applicable anymore. I'm like, oh,
Right.
dude, that makes way more sense. Everyone just told me that they didn't do it because that was the weird rule that they didn't want to follow anymore. I was like, no, that got fulfilled. That's why.
Alex, this is how simple
Yeah,
Christianity is. When I
yeah,
have a new believer, this is how I explain Christianity to them.
yeah, yeah,
Picture Christmas morning. Okay. When
yeah,
I was a kid, the thing was we had a two-story house. And the deal was if you got up before your parents, you weren't allowed to run downstairs to the Christmas tree till your parents were up, right?
right.
So my sister and I, we'd sit at the top of the steps and we see the tree down there glistening and we're peeking. We see presents down at the bottom. But of course, we got to wait till mom and dad get up. Now, when you're a kid, it's like 5 in the morning. You're like
I
knocking on the
know,
door.
dude. You
Time to
can't
get up, right?
sleep. You're like, yeah,
Yeah, you
let's
can't sleep.
go.
You know, it's like no other day, man. Your mom's like shaking you get out of bed to go to school any other day. But Christmas, man, you're up at 3 a.m. You're like, I'm ready to roll, right?
Yeah,
But think about Christianity like this. Christianity is this. You walk down the steps. There's a tree there. There's a gift under the tree. Christianity is as simple as do you open the gift or not?
right,
It's that simple. People make it so complicated. Do you open the gift that you didn't earn? You
right.
don't deserve it, but it's there for you. Do you open it or not? That's Christianity, dude. People have made it so much more complicated. Do you open the gift? It's free. It's yours. Take it or don't take it. That's your choice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really that simple.
Dude, I like the analogy you were just saying of like kids waking up early on Christmas Day, but you can't get them out of bed any other day. Uh, that is Eric Thomas has this quote about procrastination where he goes, I don't believe in procrastination. He goes, I don't think it's real. He goes, it's that you don't value whatever it is enough. Because he goes, here's the
Exactly
thing. He
right.
goes, if I told you that if you meet me at the beach tomorrow at 5 a.m., I'll give you $1 million. He's like, where are you going to be? They're like, man, I'll be there at 4:59. He goes, exactly. So it's not procrastination. It's that whatever you're doing, you don't see the value in. You're like, it's not valuable enough to get up and do that. So he's like, you have to find the value in what you're doing every day. And then you'll get up and do it and you won't procrastinate.
It's a decision. Like when I have clients that come into me and they show up late for an appointment, I
Right.
take that as a personal slight because I'm like, oh, so you don't value me.
Right.
You don't see the value when I'm offering. Now, I don't say that to them, Alex, because we could probably lose a client by doing that.
Right.
But that's exactly what you're saying. You made an intentional choice to devalue my time.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And that's the truth. I mean, and so many people don't get that. Like they don't understand how they insult people. They don't understand how they annoy people when you don't honor them, when you don't respect their time, you don't respect what they're doing for you. And then we took a little sideline there. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not about procrastination. It's about an intentional choice to disregard another person.
Yeah. The thing that I found in my business, I have to remind myself that all the little things add up to a big thing. So just in marketing in general, like the biggest grind in my business is marketing. Like we're doing event production, you're constantly marketing events,
Sure.
and it's kind of like time versus effort. So at the beginning, I was doing everything. I was phoning local businesses like, "Hey, do you want to partner on this comedy event? We'll give you a good deal. Like, you can entertain all of your clients and your staff, and we'll give you a good deal. Or, we can partner with these people and have the after party here. Or if you buy a ticket here, you can get a discount on your dinner. So go do dinner and a show." And putting posters up and doing all the Facebook groups, like joining all the local Facebook
Mhm.
groups. You're doing all of these things, and then you would have Facebook ads, like meta marketing seems to be the
Mhm.
best one. It's like the best bang for your buck. It's the quickest to set up. It has the best return. But then eventually, like you stop doing all the other stuff because you're like, oh man, like that was so much work to get 5 extra tickets. This was so much for that. And then eventually you boil down where you're like not seeing the value in any of it. You're like, well, it doesn't really matter if I don't make this call because it's a couple tickets, or it doesn't matter if I don't do this. But then you stop doing so many of the little things that now you're not doing any of them.
Yep.
And so it's trying to find that value in the little thing. But another hard one I find is like, how do you differentiate? Like, if you're scattered and you have so many ideas, so many different things to
Mhm.
do,
Mhm.
and they can be good ideas, but how do you distinguish between a good idea and a great idea?
So I'm going to go back to what you just said because I want to address that. We lie to people and say don't sweat the small stuff. It's the small stuff that matters.
Right.
Do sweat the small stuff
Yeah.
because that's what matters. So how do you differentiate? If most entrepreneurs are crazy, dude, like they got a million thoughts a minute.
Right.
But that's where you got to take time and invest in a thought process of okay, let's break these things down. Oh, I did Dale Carnegie training. One of the things they taught there was what's called green light thinking. Green
Right.
light thinking is get a pad of paper and write down everything that you can think of. No question marks. Just write it down. I've
Right.
done this in organizations. I used to run a credit union. I had 30 people that worked for me. We used to have these green light thinking sessions on Friday mornings.
Right.
Nothing was off bounds. Here's what we got: a problem. What's the solution? Green light thinking. Put it all out there because what I found is a lot of amazing things came out of that. But then here's the thing that a lot of people don't do: the pivot is now you turn into red light thinking and you start to pick apart those things one by one.
Right.
So the problem is most entrepreneurs are stuck on the green. The gas pedal is to the floor.
Right.
But at some point, you got to put the brake on and say, okay, but let's pick this apart a little bit. And that's where I think the answer to your question is how do we pick these things apart and say, okay, well, here's the little kernel. Well, this would work, but this would work, but don't negate the green light thinking because there's genius in that. But at some point, you got to say, okay, let's really test this out. Like your jokes, dude. You probably have a million jokes. You go to a club with like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and do this, and you're like, yeah, that didn't land. Not gonna try that one again. But I tweak it like this. I could see that's where you're in that red light thinking. Like this is still funny, but it could be funnier, or I get a better laugh if I paused a little bit, or if I added it after this. And so that's the true skill of it is have that green light, but understand the red light and understand because here's the problem. Most business people, most comedians, most anybody who does creative stuff, they just have this flow of amazing stuff, right? But they never take the time to go and rehash it. They never take the time to study it
Right.
because it's easy to throw out ideas, right? Like we can all, take water balloons, throw them at stuff, and watch them explode. And be like, oh, that's cool. That person's soaking wet, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the truly skilled person goes back and say, okay, what did I learn from that?
Right.
And that's the key. And so a lot of people don't do it. Like a lot of people don't understand it. Most successful entrepreneurs do their homework.
Right.
Most entrepreneurs go back and they go back, like you said, when you're measuring your comedy events, when you're measuring events, you go back and say, okay, was this profitable? You look at every piece of that. You say, okay, this worked, this didn't work. But see, a lot of people don't go back and do that because they're always putting out fires. Or they're always saying, oh, I got this great new idea. They never finish anything. They never fully scope out everything. And I think that's really the answer to your question is when you have a million things, great, but then put it to a test and say, okay, how do I break this down piece by piece and do sweat the small stuff? I think that's the key to success.
Yeah. Make sure, yeah, all the small things lead to one big thing. That's very like James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Absolutely.
I read Dale Carnegie's book, The How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Great book. Great
Dude,
book.
one of the best books I've ever read. It was so funny because I didn't read it for so long because
Mhm.
I didn't like the name.
Right.
I just thought I'm like, this is cheesy. I'm like, I don't want to like it felt like slimy. Like I'm like, I don't want to like
But as a
influence
comedian,
people.
isn't
And
this what you do?
yeah, for sure. 100%. But
And that
it
translates to
feels
every piece of
disingenuous.
business.
It feels like just the title sounded like
Yeah,
very
but see, that's the
like
key though, is it is genuine. Because
yes.
you can be full of crap and be like, oh, tell me about your life. People are going to read right through that. They pull the BS meter and they go, you're full of crap.
Yeah, well that's once you get into the book, you see
Right,
like the
right,
the rules, right? Like show genuine interest. And the
right,
key word there is genuine. Like you have
right.
to actually be interested in what the person is saying. You can't fake the interest. But just the title threw me off. But another one that I really liked from that was give praise often.
Yep,
Because I find we're very quick to point out if people are doing something we don't like, you know? Like
yep.
if your partner comes home and they kick their shoes off and throw their jacket on the floor and then leave their bag on the counter, like we're very quick to be like, hey, like don't do that. Like clean that
Right.
shit up, you know? We'll
Right.
tell people that.
Right.
But then if they do it, we rarely tell people when they do something we like, you know? Like if we're
Oh,
working and
it's true.
your
It's
partner
true.
comes home and gives you a kiss on the cheek and then walks by, we like that, but we
Right.
won't tell them. We won't be like, "Hey, thank you for doing like I really like it when you do that." We rarely say that, but
Yeah. You
we're
don't
very
thank them.
quick to
Hey, right. Thanks for coming home in the first place. Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
could have done something else. Like you could have been all running with somebody else, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
start there, and that's where gratuity comes into it. Being grateful. That's the
Right.
other reason I think Christianity is so important. It teaches us gratefulness, to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
grateful for the little things, because that's where the beauty in life is. It's the little things. It's the little nuance things. It's the kiss on the cheek, like you talked about, dude.
Yeah.
You can't pay for that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can't earn it. You can't pay for that, dude. That is huge. And it's awesome that you're thinking about that, because you're like, yeah, they're throwing the shoes around, leaving their crap everywhere. That's frustrating and annoying, right?
Right.
But man, think about all the positives into this. And that's the thing. Like, I think it's so easy to get stuck in a negative. We live in a culture that's just noise from all directions. Social media is nothing but negative, 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 negative.
Right.
But you don't see social media about, oh, this person did this or this person. It's always, they can't believe this person did this. And can you believe this? Because we're all socially outraged all the time, right?
Yeah. You know what I found with that? I think the big because I was trying to figure this out. I'm like, why are negative ideas so much more enticing? Like we're so much more like drawn to negative than positive. And I started thinking about it, and I think it's that like one, I know at my old job, so I was like a mechanic. I'm constantly fixing broken shit. And if I'm not fixing something that's broken, I'm looking at something going, okay, what's going to break next on this thing? Or what is our point of failure? So you're always looking for the negative thing that's going to come up rather than, you know, like you see a flight of stairs. You're like, ooh, that could be dangerous. We could fall down that. Rather than being looking at it and going, dude, what can this flight of stairs do to add value? And so I think doing that little shift, because I think we're programmed for survival, right? Number one. So you're always
Oh, yeah.
looking for the negative or harm, but really you can break out of that and start seeing how beautiful everything is. That's actually something I do in my comedy. A lot of comedy is very negative. Like a lot of it's making fun of stuff.
Mhm.
We're telling people what we don't like. It's like, man, you know what I hate when you see this, and it's like so much of that. But I think equally as powerful, if not more, is the opposite. Like if I see someone telling me about something they love, dude, I'm drawn right in. If someone's
Yep.
like, man, you know when you go here and this is like that, like, dude, that's awesome. Like
Yep.
that pulls me in just as much, if not more. And I think it's a better message. So
Oh,
I
it's a
try,
passion. It's a
I,
passion, and it's a mindset shift.
yeah. So I try and look at things for comedy. I go, okay, well, what do I really love? Like, what is something that just gets me excited? And then I try and build from that.
Because think of how many relationships you can build on positive things,
Right.
right? Think about that. Yeah, but the thing is, we're drawn to that. Like you're driving down the road, you see a car wreck, you take a look and see what happened, right? But if
Right.
you're driving down the road and there's a beautiful rose bush on the side, you don't pay it any mind,
Yeah.
right? But if you change your mindset, you start to find the beauty in life, start to find the beauty in people, start to find the beauty in those day to day opportunities in your life, man. The world changes completely for you when doing that. And that's why, as a Christian, I think that's what God is teaching us. He's saying, look for the beauty in things, look for the subtleties, look for the amazing things to be grateful for. And that's when you'll really find value in your life. Because at the end of the day, dude, it's not about money,
Right.
it's not about success, it's about relationships. Here's
Yeah.
the truth. Big takeaway for me today, it's all about the relationships. When I
Yeah.
finally figured that out, it all started to click, dude. It's
Yeah.
really all about relationships. Your
Dude.
comedy is that way, business is that way, successful marriages are that way, relationships with your family members, it's all about the relationship.
Yeah. I'm working on a new bit right now where I'm talking about like my favorite thing in the world and my least favorite thing in the world are the same thing, and it's people.
Mhm,
Like my favorite thing in the world is a good person, man. Like
mhm.
there's no one that can make me feel better or uplift my mood than like one of my best friends or someone I love, just a loved one. I'm like, dude, seeing a loved one, dude, especially when you're like run into someone that you love that you weren't planning to, you're just out at the grocery store and you see someone, you're like, man, what are you doing? Like, I get so excited. And I do think like, uh, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the humanity, though. Like a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, people are awful. They ruin everything, and we're wrecking them." I think the opposite. Like everything that I love was made by a human. You know, like someone created that, And I love people. They're
And that's the problem with our culture right now is we're going introverted so many ways,
hmm
disconnecting from people. AI is taking over. I do a weekly sermon show called Truth Unveiled with Ralph, and I just released a show last week about the ethics of AI.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
talked about that. AI is great. Like it does some great things for us. But man, we lose our humanity in that. And I
Right.
see so many people, COVID started this. Like COVID, like everybody's in their basements hiding now.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, man, I don't know about you, dude, but I just want to put my arms around people. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
enjoy some events with them, man. I don't want to be on a Zoom call. Like you and I are on a Zoom call right now. I get it, but like,
Yeah.
man, I love the face-to-face thing. And I think
Yeah.
that we lose that when we lose sight of humanity, man. And so I'm so encouraged by you saying that because that's the secret sauce to the whole thing, isn't it?
hmm Well, that's my whole shtick. My whole thing is I'm the happiness cheerleader on stage. That's my whole spiel. I'm like, come and see me, and I guarantee you'll leave feeling better than when you got there. And
And people will come see you again and they'll tell everybody about you because of that, Alex. Because
yeah,
people want to walk away feeling good about themselves.
yeah,
People want to walk away feeling positive. They don't want to walk away feeling negative, right? You
yeah.
just
Well,
don't.
that's what I find because I question a lot about like what do I want to do now? Like I've done 2 full hours, 2 shows, put out specials, and I'm writing my third one. And I really the big difference I'm finding now. When I first started, I'm like, I just want to be funny. Like I don't care what I'm saying. I just want people laughing, and I'm trying to be funny. And then now a lot more I'm thinking of like, what do I want to be putting out into the world? What do energy, I don't know if you use the word legacy, but like what is the message that I want to send and be providing to the world? And it's always love, dude. Like it all comes back to love. I think love is the answer to everything. And
It
yeah,
really is. And it's the antidote to what's wrong with our world.
yeah,
It really is. I mean, you can solve wars because of that. You can solve conflicts because of that. If people would just say, you know what, we can get past this.
yeah,
That's the thing. And in business relationships, like so many people don't understand when you get a bad call from a customer, like a complaint, love on that customer.
yeah.
Because here's the deal if they took the time to complain, you still got a chance with them. There's a great book called A Complaint is a Gift. I recommend that every single business owner listen to that because I'll give you a great example of this. Celebrate my wife's 20 years without cancer. I decided on Monday I'm going to send her flowers.
Right.
So I went online, I found this flower shop. I thought it was a local flower shop. Well, they misled me. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I said to him, I wanted to pick out a beautiful bouquet of flowers, right? I said, when you get to our house, we have a gate with a box. You ring the bell. I said, when you get there, call my wife and say, hey, I got a delivery for you. Well, this knucklehead who delivered the flowers left this. First of all, it was the trashiest bouquet I've ever seen in my life. Left it sitting on the ground on top of a delivery box. Didn't call my wife. My wife just happened to see this knucklehead up front delivering these flowers. Well, they pick up the flowers. They're garbage flowers. They're all brown and wrinkly. Here I'm trying to promote my wife's 20-year cancer, and these flowers are dying. I'm like, this is terrible. So I pick up, no, it's terrible, Alex. So I pick, yeah, yeah, dude, it's funny, right? So I pick up the phone and I call these clowns and I'm like, listen, do you realize what you just sent my friends? And they're like, I guess somebody doesn't even speak English on the other side of the line, first of
Yeah.
all. So I know, oh, clear, I'm not dealing with a local person. They said, oh, well, we have to escalate this to our customer care team. I'm like, okay, how are you going to fix this? He's like, well, let me escalate. So an hour later, I get a call, I get an email back. We're going to give you $5 towards your purchase. I'm like, $5? You
Right.
totally blew this. You totally blew it. So I went back. I said, no, you're going to do better than that, or I'm going to charge back with my Amex. I love to use my Amex card because I got a little power there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I sent him back. I said, listen, here's what you did. Here's where you broke this. First of all, you didn't deliver what you said you're going to deliver. It didn't look anything like the picture. Number
Right.
two, what you sent was wilted and nasty. And number three, you couldn't even have the courtesy of picking up the phone and saying to my wife, hey, there's a delivery for you here. So
Right.
guess what? You're going to refund my money. Dude, it took 3 or 4 emails from all kinds of people to finally say, okay, we'll give you your money back. Well, they're never going to get my business again.
Right.
All they had to do at the front end said, Mister, I'm so sorry about what happened to you.
Yeah.
See, because I was giving them a gift.
Yeah, yeah.
I could have just said, I'll charge this thing back or I'll never deal with them again. But I was giving them a gift. And so many people don't understand it. When a person reaches out to you with a complaint, love on that person
Yeah.
because you still have a chance to win that person.
Yeah.
And that's huge. So complaint is a gift. Great book.
Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely look into that. That's a great story. Yeah, I have like a thing. I refund everyone who asks for a refund.
Mhm.
If anyone ever asks for a refund, I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'm sorry that, the show wasn't what you expected. And I always just think exactly what you're saying. Like the $50 or $100 is not worth their negative view of the event. And I always try to come from a point of understanding. It's like something I'm learning in life right now is like I think it's almost more important to try to understand than to be understood. Like we all want to be understood, but to actually like take the time to step on and be like, hey, I'm not just gonna listen and then try and tell them how I think. Like try really get in their shoes and be like, okay, I understand why you think this. Even if I don't agree with it, like, oh, I might
Right.
not agree with what you're saying, but I understand how you feel or why you feel that way.
Because think about it like this, Alex. You go to a restaurant and the food's terrible and the service is bad. You tell 100 people about how terrible that restaurant is, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
But you go to a good restaurant, you might tell one or two people.
Right.
It works the same way in a comedy. If you go do a comedy show and you're lousy, it's terrible, and somebody says, I want my money back, give them their money back, dude. Where's the sign here? Where do I do it? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you don't need that person say, oh, don't go see Alex. He's terrible. Because then you have some of these clowns like coming after you, like, oh, don't go see his show. Make
Yeah.
them happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Rebuild that relationship because maybe they'll give you another chance.
Yeah, and my whole thing too is I just like I don't want anyone to be upset. Like that's what I say though, how I open every show is I say like my whole goal is to make you feel good. Like that's my job. You give me money, I make you feel good. Like that's our relationship here. So if I don't do that, then it's like, well, I didn't do my job, you know? So
Amen.
yeah. One quick thing before I let you go. I
Yes,
always
sir.
ask everyone this, just more of a philosophical thing is
Here comes the zinger, right?
yeah, no, it's just it's something interesting I like is go, what is something that you used to believe to be true that you no longer do?
Oh, wow. Now you did get philosophical, dude.
Yeah,
Something that I used to believe was true, but I no longer do.
yeah.
Hmm. Man, there's so many things that come to mind. I want to make sure I'm politically correct and say the right thing here, right? No, I used to believe there was a thing called love at first sight.
Okay.
But being married, we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations, dude. That's amazing.
Thank you. But I got to tell a story. Do you have a minute for a story?
Yeah, of course.
So I was a tyrant in my marriage for the first 19 years. And at year 19, my wife left,
Oh, wow.
packed her stuff, and moved to another state, dude. Got
Yeah,
engaged to another guy.
yeah,
I did the same thing. And 2 days before the divorce was final, we hooked back up.
yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, we celebrated 25 years together. Now, I used to think that love was just this thing, like you don't have to feed it; it just happens. Like it's just there, right? It's like,
Right.
oh, the beauty of love is when you find that right person, it's just going to work. Well,
Yeah,
guess
it's
what?
just
That's a lie.
right.
Love is making an intentional decision every day to put the needs of that person before yours.
Right.
That's what I'm going to tell you my answer to that question is. Because I
Oh,
used to think love was this amazing thing. Like once you fall, oh, this is going to be great. It doesn't work. It's a
man.
lie. It's an intentional choice that I'm going to love my wife more than I should, more than she deserves even. There are days when she doesn't deserve. I know I don't deserve it.
Right.
So she chooses to love me on days that I don't deserve it because I'm a rascal sometimes. I'll be the first one to admit it.
Yeah.
But dude, as a kid, like you're taught, like there's this, because you go to the movies, you see these romance, and oh, it always ends with the winner wins, and they go away, they're in love with each other. Dude, that is so far from the reality of the life.
Right.
It's an intentional decision to love them in spite of their flaws, in spite of their warts, like in spite of them leaving their stuff everywhere and making a mess, and not remembering your birthday, and not remembering that you had a rough day, dude. That's the beauty of life. And that's true love. True
Yeah.
love is that decision to say, you know what? I choose to love you.
Yeah.
It's not a feeling, it's a choice.
Oh, that's awesome. That's beautiful, Ralph. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for sharing that. And dude, thanks for the conversation. It was very good, very knowledgeable. I feel great, man.
I had a really good time. And that's what I do too. Alex, I want people to leave my shows and leave my content stuff feeling better about themselves because guess what? That's how we all win. When we
Yeah.
all walk away feeling better than we did a minute ago. Look, I can't solve all the problems that people have. I just can't. I don't have the capacity to. But
Yeah.
if I can make you feel better, if I can make you stay in there a little longer, if I can make you want to get up tomorrow morning and go back at it again, well done, good and faithful servant. That's where I live my life.
Oh, amazing. Ralph, where can people find you if they want to check you out, they want to get some advice from you?
Easiest thing you can do is go to askralph.com. Just askralph.com. And I got one better.
Yeah.
Here's something I'm going to give absolutely everybody free. If you want to I just finished my third book. It's called How to Become a Financially Confident Christian. It's 30 years of stories of working with people who have struggled. I'm going to give everybody in your audience a copy absolutely free. All you got to do is go to financiallyconfidentchristian.com slash, oh boy, now I forgot it,
Yeah, don't worry.
becoming. Financiallyconfidentchristian.com slash becoming. Put your email address in there. You'll download a free copy of my book. It will change your life. That's what I want to give your people for free.
Oh, amazing, man. Well, I appreciate it, Ralph. You're adding a lot of value in what you do. And yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to hang out.
I appreciate the opportunity, Alex. It's been great to get to know you. I guess I got to take a trip to Canada and we'll meet each other face to face.
Yeah, well, I'm planning on coming down there soon. I'm working on getting down there to do some shows. So
Oh, very cool. Well, I'll be one of your biggest fans down here.
amazing. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Ralph, and take care.
Take care, Alex. God bless you.
Oh, God bless. Oh,